What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is Preview Picks, the weekly show where I go over comic books that are coming out on Wednesday, give you an idea what they're all about, as well as whether there's something you should talk to your comic book shop about. To start off with, we're going to go with independent books, and I'm going to talk about Moonshine #2, which is a continuation of the Brian Azzarello book, which is set in a Prohibition era. The big thing about this is that it's dealing with some more mystical kind of things, because the previous issue implied something about werewolves, so that's definitely a book to keep your eye on. And then we have Kill or Be Killed #4, which is turning out to be an excellent story by Ed Brubaker, so that's one I'm recommending people pick up. And then to finish things off at Image, we have Reborn #2, which is going to be by Mark Millar and Greg Capullo. So when we last left off, Bonnie had been transported into this other world where she's been, reborn. So hopefully we're going to get a little bit more backstory, and we're going to understand her role in this situation. We also have some great variant covers, so you're going to want to check those out as well. Then we go to Valiant, which has got Harbinger Renegade #1, so this is going to be a lead-in series, I think about 4 issues, that's going to go to the next Harbinger War, so that's definitely going to be an interesting book to pick up from Valiant. Now let's hop over to Marvel, where we have Black Panther #8, and that's going to be the continuation of the second half of Ta-Nehisi Coates' story regarding T'Challa and the Black Panther. And this is going to hopefully reveal a little bit more about Shuri and what's coming up with that. I really hope so, at least. Then there's All New Wolverine #14, which is continuing the Enemy of the State 2 storyline. So Laura Kinney had been triggered in some sort of village, and now we're going to see the aftermath of that, so that's going to be pretty interesting too. Squadron Supreme #13 is coming out, which is going to be the return of Namor the Submariner. So his return to the Marvel Universe is pretty big because ultimately he's one of the original characters from Marvel, and I can't wait to see what other characters are going to be coming back, especially in the aftermath of Secret Wars. I really hope that this is kind of a real telling of what's going to be coming in the future. We also have Spider-Man #9, which is unfortunately still stuck in the Civil War II rut. Being a Brian Michael Bendis book, it's completely understandable, but I was really looking for a little bit more story progression from this book, and I don't think I'm going to get it there. But Doctor Strange #14 is going to continue with their new story arc, which is The Blood in the Ether. And this is going to continue on with the Satana storyline, and ultimately we're just going to get more and more introductions of Doctor Strange villains, and I can't wait to see what's next in this one. Speaking of continued storylines, we do have some clone conspiracy tie-ins in Amazing Spider-Man 21, which is going to be dealing with Kane and Carrion, which is a really odd kind of combination, and ultimately the cover you can definitely see is an homage to the Luke Cage cover from way back in the day. We also have Silk #14 tying into the clone conspiracy, and this sees the return of Maddie Franklin, aka the third Spider-Woman, I'm pretty sure. But that's going to be something that's going to keep me interested in this book for the time being. Also, I really appreciate the new artist that's going to be on there, so I can't wait to see what the interior style really looks like. We also have Jessica Jones #2, which is going to continue telling the story of Jessica as she goes kind of undercover, really goes and investigates these particular issues, but she's kind of avoiding her whole superhero reality, so I'm totally stoked on that. Definitely looks to be a great continuation of the original alias Jessica Jones character, which is awesome. We also have Infamous Iron Man #2, so this is going to see Doom versus the Thing, and instead of being kind of like that throwback bad guy, good guy, it's going to be like reformed bad guy, now turned good guy versus man from outer space, because the Guardians are now on Earth. So I'm really interested to see how this is going to end up, because there's never been any good blood, always bad blood, between Victor Von Doom and Ben Grimm. So I can't wait to see how this plays out over this issue and possibly more. But the real big Marvel book that I'm waiting for and that I'm really excited about is Thanos #1. So if you give Jeff Lemire, who's one of the better writers in comic books right now, you give him space and you give him Thanos, one of the biggest bads in the Marvel Universe, you are going to get something amazing. And I can't wait to see what this turns to be, because with what he's doing with Old Man Logan, with what he's doing with Moon Knight, with his independent titles, Jeff Lemire is just crushing it. So Thanos #1 is one of my most highly anticipated books for this coming week. Speaking of Jeff Lemire, he's also doing a book at Dark Horse called Black Hammer #5, which is going to be a really interesting book because it's continuing on this story of kind of an abandoned group of superheroes that are lost in the wilderness of this pocket dimension, it seems. So I'm really interested to see where that continues to go. And then also there's Ether #1. That's not written by Jeff Lemire, but he does have a variant cover, and it's a book that seems like a man out of science that's in a fantasy world. So it's definitely something to check out from Dark Horse. But let's just drop that and go to DC, where we have Green Arrow #11, where they're still kind of stuck on a train. So I can't wait to see them get back to Seattle, because that's ultimately where I want them to be, and you've got to go through the train in order to get there. So can't wait to see when this one ends. I guess. We also have Justice League number 9, which I am not reading, and Suicide Squad number 6, which I am also not reading, until they come up to their next crossover event. I mean, Justice League vs. Suicide Squad has a completely different set of writers than either of these books, so I can't wait to see what they're all about. We also have Raven number 3, which is continuing the story of her in high school, and this whole thing that's going on, but again, it's a book that I'm not quite picking up because it didn't really connect with me, it didn't really resonate, but the book that I am picking up because it did, and that is Green Lanterns number 11, and this is the continuation of the Phantom Ring arc, and we finally see our antagonist, the pawn of Volthoom, grab his power ring, and now he's taking off into the galaxy, and I can't wait to see what kind of conflict is really going to be drummed up by that. We also have Nightwing number 9, which is going to be a one-shot issue, and this is going to be a single, standalone story, which is going to include the Man of Steel. So we got a little bit of Supes action going on in Nightwing, so I can't wait to see what that's all about. Caven Carson number 2 is going to be digging a little bit deeper into the earth as there's a conflict in his old stomping grounds and the home of his former wife. So this is going to be a pretty interesting one to see from Young Animal. I can't really wait to see where that is because it's a grounded kind of title in this. It feels a little bit more real than some of the other fantastical stuff coming out of Doom Patrol and Shade the Changing Girl. To end things, though, we're going to have to talk about Batman number 11. So Batman number 11 sees the entire new Suicide Squad, the I Am Suicide arc going into part 3, and the Suicide Squad that Batman's assembled is headed into Santa Prisca, and we're going to see either this espionage or conflict resolution go on over this issue and the next 2 until we get to that final conflict. And I can't wait to see what this kind of interaction is because I really like what Tom King's doing with this book. Based on the monologue and the entire backstory that we got over the previous issue, I'm really expecting Catwoman to start playing a pretty serious role in this, and I can't wait to see what kind of, turns and twists there are with her character and the others. He assembled this team for a reason. There's got to be a reason that these people are all together, so I can't wait to see what that's all about. Then we go to Superman number 11, and Superman number 10 was one of my most favorite books. It was amazing. It was so fun. It was a great charismatic match between Batman, Superman, between Robin, between Superboy, and then ultimately the last panel where the kids are just like, oh no, as the super dads are standing over them. It was just perfect. And this is the continuation of that story. So it's only a little 2-part arc, so this is going to be the finale of that, and we're going to probably see a conflict where the kids have to jump in and help out the dads, whether it's artificial or it's serious. It's still going to be great to see that kind of relationship build between those 2 young kids. Plus, there was the promise of a Batman boot camp, so I really want to see some Batman giving some training to a young Superboy and see what kind of potential that brings out of him. Superman number 11, highly anticipated title. If you're not reading it, go read it. Go grab Superman 10. Go grab it all. Grab all of Superman. It is good. It is like the best DC Rebirth title out there. Just ahead of Trinity. And Trinity number 3 is going to continue the story by Francis Manapul. And this is really going to show a little bit more of that entanglement because we finally see that Poison Ivy is really behind this whole situation, but there is another person that is kind of masterminding these things, where she is the control on the outside, and he's going to be the control on the inside. I don't know if it's he, but Trinity is a really good bonding tale, and I like it better than the Justice League because it's showing a good Batman, it's showing a good Wonder Woman. It's definitely a much more personal, much more emotional tale, and that's a really cool way to bring those characters together compared to some of this other stuff where people are just kind of being like dickish to each other. And I would rather see these heroes, this Trinity, this triumvirate, these champions of the DC landscape. I would much rather see them as friends and fighting together than in kind of some sort of artificial conflict. Definitely recommend picking up Trinity. It is one of the better books out of DC Rebirth, and definitely, if you want to get your fair share of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, this is the book to be picking up. I'd take it well over Justice League any day of the week. So those are the books that I'm going to be picking up this week and what I think about them, but I want to know what you guys think too and whether you're going to be picking up something different. So hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation about those. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.